A party platform is a written document that outlines the party policy, priorities, and positions on domestic and foreign affairs. With this statement, I welcome you to Pointblank this week. Remember, this is my regular weekly show where I delve into issues of interest, not just for me or to me, but to you, my audience. And this week, it's going to be about the political conventions that both major political parties are right now holding. Welcome to Pointblank. My name is Patrick Omosage. Remember, you can tweet at me at PJ Osage, or you can also hashtag the program, which is hashtag Pointblank, or watch this program anytime, anywhere after its first airing on Thursday nights at MBCLiveTV.com. So I welcome you again to Pointblank. I'll take a quick break and I'll be right back. Welcome back. Like I said, the mood in America right now is really about politics. It is heating up. The elections are in the first Tuesday in November this year, and both parties have selected their candidates. On the Democratic Party, we have Mrs. Hillary Clinton, and on the Republican Party, we have Mr. Donald Trump. But I'm not talking about the individual presidential candidates today. What I'm going to look into is that I have 8 sets of what they actually outline as priorities or positions that they want to do, that they are talking about. So I have 8 of them that I'm going to discuss with you, my audience. And really, I would love to have feedback on this because some of this really concern us. I mean, some of these are things that we think about. I'll give you an example. I'm going to try to lay out where both parties stand on immigration. I'm going to lay out where both parties stand on the LGBT rights. And I'm also going to talk a lot about what they stand on voting rights. But again, I have 8 of those to discuss with you. So let's go. Let's start with the very first one. Both parties believe, or say, let me put it this way, minimum wage. Where do they stand? The Democratic Party, having been, I would say, pressured by the Bernie Sanders group, and really some of the states that are being controlled by Democrats today, are clamoring for a $15 minimum wage. They want the minimum wage to be at $15. Today, I believe the minimum wage is just about $7, $7.25 or something like that. They want it to get to $15. Most of them maybe till 2020, but that's where they want it to go. That's the Democratic Party. That is where they tend to be going. What about the Republicans? Their argument from day one has always been, there's no need for a federal minimum wage. If at all there's going to be any kind of set amount, it should be done by the states. And I heard their presidential candidate just yesterday in an interview said, look, let the states take care of it, but I'm looking at something at about $10. So here we have the first divide. One party wants 15 and they want a federally mandated minimum wage. The other party wants, say, $10, but let it be state mandated. I'm not going to tell you which is right or wrong, but here is my position. I would love to have, not necessarily that the states control it, but look, every part of the country is different. $15 might just be fine in New York for minimum wage, but at $15, I can guarantee you, my son who's a sophomore in college will probably not get any job that's going to pay him $15. Not because he's unqualified, but he has absolutely no experience to get $15 as a starting salary. You're going to be taught everything you need to do. So we cannot, I don't think this country should mandate $15 an hour as minimum wage. Because even before this, I always used to joke with my friends. What about $20? What about $25? Why do you peg it at all? I believe in the free market. Let the free market decide on state level, even on city levels. There are some cities that, can afford to pay, or that they have businesses that can afford to pay $15. But a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, can't. I have a lot of friends that own small businesses. And they might support the Democratic Party, but they will tell you that I don't think I can pay $15. I'll lay a lot of people off when it comes to that. But again, my own judgment, my view on this is that let the businesses decide. The more people you have looking for a job, a particular job, the lower the price. I mean, the lower you have to pay in wages. The less people, the higher the wages. So if we create an awful number of jobs in America today, we'll decide on what to pay people. Let me go to my second point. I mean, or not my point, because these are not mine. These are what the both political parties have put out there as their priority and their positions on certain things. Let's look at what the position of both parties are on the racial wealth gap. I believe both parties understand that there's a huge gap, first of all, in wealth in America. Now, here is my belief. The reason that the wealth gap has increased in America is not because one side is stealing, the wealthy is stealing from the poor. No. Technology, I believe. This is what I'm saying. This has nothing to do with either party. Technology is what has increased the wealth gap in America. People forget that the way they calculate this, they look, a young man being black or white, if he goes into technology and does something great with what the skills he has, he's going to be paid a fortune. And that alone is distorting the wealth gap in America. But let's really be more concerned about what both political parties are talking about, the racial wealth gap. The black versus white, the Latino versus white, Asians versus white. When we talk about racial wealth gap, what I have noticed, and I've lived in America well over 20 years plus, is that there's every race, if we have to use the word race, seems to have a concentration of its wealth amongst certain groups of people. Now, if there is a gap, I don't think it is what politics should be trying to solve. I don't think politics can solve a gap in wealth. What politics can do or help to do is to create more opportunities for everybody to be involved in. Remember, these are my own thoughts. This has nothing to do with the Republican philosophy or Democratic philosophy. But when we talk about racial wealth gap, in my neighborhood, I mean, and I don't want to stereotype, but every other neighbor of mine that is of Indian descent is a medical doctor. Every other one is a medical doctor in some field in medicine. Everybody knows that doctors make pretty good money. And that's fine. I hold no grudges against them. So when we talk about racial wealth gap, we've got to be very careful. But you know what? Both political parties, it seems to be something they're talking about. This is what I call in American politics, it's always going to be a divide. Both parties tend to see things differently. That divide will continue and continue for a long time because it's the control of the center that both parties want. Racial justice. God knows that we've been at this for almost 2 years constantly now. The killing of unarmed African Americans. Unarmed. When you look at the numbers of people in the system, like they call it, and that's the jail system or the criminal justice system, a lot of minorities, blacks and Latinos, young men. There have been all types of arguments that blacks and Latinos are punished differently than whites. I want a lot of you to do your own research and see what the differences are. I will just say this, that the one thing that I know about America is that the more money you are, the better the justice system will treat you. I don't care whether you're black or white. Take it from me, the more money you have, the better the system will treat you. Whether you're black, white, green, orange, it doesn't matter. If you can procure good lawyers, that just happens to be a fact of life. That's what happens. It's a system that's built on money. You might not like it, but that's what the system is built on. How it will change, I don't know. But the more money you have, the more likely that you would be able to cover your issues in the system. And both parties argue differently, that it's unfair. The question I always ask, when you say it's unfair, what are you going to do about it? How do you change it? The only way you change a system like this that seems to be unfair to those that don't have money, I'm not using race now, to those that don't have money, is what? Is probably to provide better education, even for those that commit crimes. They have to know their rights and limitations too. They have to be able to fight for the right things, because that's the only way you can help them. Outside that, it's not going to be possible. So the issue of racial justice is one that we have to look at, and both parties are looking at it, but arguing differently. I'll take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to talk about the one that most of us here, Africans, Nigerians, or people that come from different parts of the world, I'm going to tell you what both parties think about immigration. And when I say immigration, both legal and illegal. So I'll take that quick break and I'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Point Blank, and my name still remains Patrick Omo-Osage. Those of you that have been with me so far will notice that we're talking about priorities and positions of both parties, or both national parties in America, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. In my second segment today, I'm going to actually leave politics alone, because you would have had enough of politics in this first segment. I'm going to go back to sports, which I covered a little bit last week. We'll be talking about Nigerian football. We'll be talking about Nigerian participation at the Olympics, which is just about a week away. So that will be in the second segment of this program. But let's go back, because I teased you with immigration. I said that is probably of most concern to most of us Africans, and in particular Nigerians. Now, where do both parties start or stand? Both parties are obviously very concerned about immigration. The Republican presidential candidate talks about immigration in two folds, really. In illegal immigration and immigration from certain parts of the world. The Democratic Party talks about inclusiveness in the immigration position. That has to be explained and I can't explain for them, but when I use the word, they talk about everybody that's here, or that we need to open the door to more people and all that. And that I agree. They open the door, and that is why I'm here. But what is it really the position? What should be the position of an American? Not a Democratic American or Republican American. What should be the position of an American on immigration? I love the fact that they allow people in. I love the fact that I came here. I love the fact that I went through a process to be here. Now, unfortunately, there are people that are here that haven't gone through a process. I tell people that no matter what anybody says, there's no way that you are deporting 11 million people. I say that because I know the process. The process right now is that means all 11 million people have to stand before a judge in order to be moved out of this country. And that is not going to happen. So the Republican platform on that is probably wrong. You're not deporting 11 million people. What do the Democrats say about illegal immigrants here? First of all, they don't want to call them illegal immigrants. And that's fine. What you call them doesn't matter. But what are you going to do with those that don't have the proper documentation here? It is a game. I've addressed this before. Both sides enjoy people being here without the proper documentation because you can use it as a wedge over the other side. The Democrats use it as a wedge on Republicans by saying that they hate foreigners. The Republicans use it against the Democrats as saying that they want to legalize people that have broken the laws. But both sides use them. Both sides use them for business, for cheap labor. And that's a simple truth. What is my position? The people here should be allowed to stay in one form or the other. They've broken laws, that's true. But you know you're not deporting 11 million people. So you got to find a way to keep them in the system, to make them legal. Maybe not to the level of a green card that immediately turns after 5 years into citizenship. You got to work out a deal. I believe that there has to be a deal. There's got to be some kind of compromise. There's got to be. It's about the only way they can solve this problem. But I tell you one thing, both sides sure enjoy the present situation. They love it. Because you can call the other side a racist, and the other side and the other side will call you back that, you're trying to legalize illegals. And most Americans, when they hear that too, don't like that. So it's a great cudgel to beat the other guy on the head with. That's all about immigration for now. It's an interesting topic again for we Africans. For whatever reasons, Nigerians, Africans that I talk to have an issue with LGBT rights. It is something we I don't know whether we're afraid of it, but it frightens us. It makes a lot of people mad. It makes us cringe. Why? Why does the sexual orientation of your neighbor, why does that bother you? Why does the sexual orientation of who my doctor is or why should that bother me? Again, both parties not necessarily stand differently because something that has never happened before under the Republican convention or under the Republican platform happened this time. They had an openly gay speaker talk to the convention. It's never happened before. Does that mean that the Republican Party is opening up more to the LGBT community? It's possible. The Democrats have always been open to them. They've always shown that they can accommodate the LGBT community. But like I've always said to a lot of people, you got to do your research. Very few people do know that under George Bush, a major staff of his, I think that was his chief of staff, was an openly gay man. He worked for a Republican president. Because, again, I don't see the difference in what both parties stand for. These are fellow human beings, and they are accommodated. I think it is the policies that are attached to, like marriage and adoption and all that, that they differ on. But that's not something I'm going to go into today. But both parties have this as their part of their platform, and they're addressing it the way they want to address it. There's always going to be a divide because this is America, and both parties have to fight in order to control the center. And that's what this is also all about. Civil rights. I know when we talk about civil rights, the first person that comes to mind is who? Martin Luther King. But what did Martin Luther King want? Very simply, he only wanted to be addressed as a person, not as a person of color, but just as a person, by what he is able to do, what he's able to accomplish. He wasn't looking for handouts because he was black. He wanted to be addressed as a human being. Both parties are so different on this. Again, what comes out mostly is about what happens with civil rights is the policies that emanate from their different positions. And they will always continue to fight about it. But the truth to me, as many people might think that America has its problems, I happen to have lived in a few other countries, Canada, hung out in Europe many times, England in particular. But I'll still tell you one thing. This is still the only country that a black man who has an African father can rise to the position of president or to be the most powerful man in America. It's not going to happen in England in 100 years. It will not happen in Canada in 100 years. I'm almost comfortable saying that. It's not because they are racist. No. It's just because there's just not enough of those people out there. There's enough black people here that can change. And when I mean change, not in sheer numbers, in accomplishment. And that's mean the society has allowed black people really accomplish. And that's why what creates, to me, a very fair civil rights society. I'll take one quick break. When I come back, I'll touch on the last of positions that both parties are talking about, and that is the voting rights of Americans. So I'll take that break, and I'll be right back. But don't forget, you're still watching Point Blank this Thursday evening. Stay right there. Welcome back. Still watching Point Blank this Thursday evening, and I've been dealing with what I consider policy positions on the platforms of both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party here in America. This is convention time. They're fighting for the position of president. We'll go do an election in November. So there have been great things happening. Through my research, I picked out 8 policy positions, and I've gone through the first 7. And this is the last one, the voting rights of Americans. Very simply, what the Republicans are saying is that to vote in America, you must be able to produce a government-issued identification. Now, what do the Democrats say? Yes, you can, but in trying to do that, you're going to suppress voting in some areas, in some communities, mostly black communities or mostly Latino communities. It's a fair argument that in trying to make everybody produce a government-issued ID, some people might be left out. But here is my simple thought on this. I have voted in 2 other countries before, Nigeria and Canada. And without any stories, you must have a government ID to vote. It's that simple. Now, is America trying to do other things? I really don't know. But I really want to believe that it would be fair that everybody that's trying to vote should have a government ID. Now, I know that people will say, well, old people can't go get a driver's license. No, they are state IDs. Remember that American elections are statewide or are state-based. It's not usually a federal election. But having a passport, having a driver's license, having a state ID, if you work for government, it's a government-issued ID. It should really be that simple. Show an ID and vote. Let's not get into trying to call one side names because you ask for an ID. I think that is really what is unfair. But nevertheless, America still has the lowest voting percentage of its voting population in any major democracy in the world. Why is that the case? Is it because of showing an ID? No. Most Americans really don't care about who's president. They only care about their state taxes or their home taxes and the school their kids attend. That is where the power lies. The power lies in the local government. And that, I believe, is one of the reasons that there's a low turnout in American voting. But for me, voting rights should not be an issue. You want to vote? Produce an ID and go vote. It's as simple as that. I hope you've been able to take some of these positions, do your research, understand what they mean, see what they're fighting for, and come to a reasonable, logical conclusion. We're all grown-ups, especially those watching this program, and I expect you to be able to do that. So I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to deviate completely from politics and go into sports, Nigerian sports, football and the Olympics, the few burning issues that I want to give you my point blank view on. So I'm going to take this break and I'll be right back. Remember, you can hashtag this program at hashtag Pointblank, tweet at me at PJ Osage, and watch this program anytime, anywhere around the world at MBCLiveTV.com. I said I was going to talk about sports, African sports, but I'm going to focus on Nigeria because something big, if I have to use the word big, just happened in Nigeria. The Nigerian Football Federation, under the leadership of Amaju Pinnick, just spent 80 million naira to entertain the new FIFA president, Infantino, who came on a 2-day visit. 80 million naira. Last week, Saturday, the national under-20 team failed to qualify. They lost at home to a team they had beaten a week earlier in Sudan. A day before that, the team was going to go on a strike because they hadn't been paid any allowances in all the time they've been in camp. And now the federation president spends 80 million to entertain, to wine and dine the president of FIFA. He has a team, the Olympic team in Atlanta, not having money or even the resources to stay afloat while they camp here before the Olympics, and he spends 80 million naira Now, the question is, why is he doing this? Part of his expenses included bringing in almost a third of the Federation presidents in Africa to join him to celebrate the FIFA president. It's interesting. The FIFA president met with the president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, met with the Senate president, Bukola Saraki. I did not know that the FIFA president was that important to Nigeria, especially in the state in which Nigeria is in now. So why, again is the question, why is the Football Federation president doing this? And what is the selling point? How was he able to sell a meeting to the president or to the president's people? Why did they allow this? Are we vying to host the World Cup that will be of economic benefit to us? What are we trying to do? What's Amaju Pinnick trying to do? Here is what I'm going to say in my point-blank view. Amaju Pinnick is playing on the unfortunate narrative that we have in Nigeria in particular of football politics. He's selling this as what I'm doing is football politics. What is football politics? The president of CAF is a Cameroonian and he's been in power for 30 years. Cameroon football has not been any better than Nigeria. He has the power. What politics? Cameroons did not host the World Cup. He couldn't swing that. It just wasn't going to happen in Cameroons. Cameroons hasn't won the World Cup either. So what is football politics? Because I only want to believe that that is the only way he's selling it. Or that we need someone at the international level. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you watching me, this is all about Amaju Pinnick himself. He's trying to position himself in CAF. I don't have a problem with his ambition. But it's a wrong time and a wrong place. You can't spend that kind of money when we're having such huge financial problems in Nigerian sports. It's unfortunate that he had to do that and that the people in government did fall for it. It's a complete farce. This is some of the things we really need to guard against. A man cannot use the whole country for its own personal ambition. That is wrong, and it's really unfortunate. Before I go, let me touch on, it's a little bit of a controversy. Mikel Obi, who plays for Chelsea in England, has been made the overall captain of the Nigerian contingent going to Rio Olympics. My understanding that the former captain, or the guy that was supposed to captain the whole national team, was a basketball captain, Olumide Oyedeji. But he was dropped from the team, who had camped somewhere in America here. So, of course, if you're not a member of your team, you cannot be an overall captain. So they have picked Mikel to be the captain. And there's a bit of a controversy, because this is Mikel's first Olympics. He's been assisted by someone who's going to her 6th Olympic. She plays table tennis, Oshanaike. We also have another table tennis player who's going to his 7th, who's been recognized even by the International Olympic Committee for coming to his 7th consecutive Olympic. That's a great achievement. But why is there controversy? I don't care who the captain of the team is. Just go, do yourself proud, and do the country proud. That's all that matters to me. Captainship makes no difference. It makes none. He's probably, I think the captain of the team is the guy that carries the flag. It's a great honor to carry your country's flag. And if they've picked him, they've picked him. I don't know why we get into controversies that really does nothing to change the landscape of our country. But again, that's my own opinion. Thanks for watching Point Blank this Thursday evening. My name is Patrick Omosage. Bye-bye for now.